Friends, for most of the time in our lives, we are selling. Whether we are proposing someone, whether we are convincing a recruiter to hire us, or whether we are attracting employees, customers, and investors to our business, we are actually selling. But do you know what is one of the biggest roadblocks to selling? Gaining people's attention. We live in an over-communicated society where thousands of messages are bombarded on people. These messages come through phone calls, social media, emails, and many other sources. It takes mental capacity to process these messages. And it is possible when you are communicating something, the other person is either mentally exhausted or engrossed in processing any other message. And that's why many times we don't get desired results for our communication. But friends, there is a solution to this problem. People are natural story lovers. That's why they take out time to watch movies, read novels, and listen to podcasts. The point I want to make is, if our messages are communicated through stories, then chances of we getting our audience attention and affirmation are higher. Let me share with you certain use cases to demonstrate the power of storytelling. The first use case is around hiring superstar talent. Friends, today Apple is one of the most valuable brands in the world. But in 1998, it was not. In fact, it was close to bankruptcy. Do you think that any superstar talent would have considered joining Apple at that time? Many of you would think, maybe not. But it happened. Tim Cook then was vice president at Compaq, then the world's largest PC maker. He was happy with his job, but he couldn't deny the opportunity to meet Silicon Valley legend Steve Jobs. During their meeting, Steve Jobs explained his vision for Apple. A vision is a compelling story about a promising future state. Maybe Tim Cook was convinced that by joining Steve Jobs, he is going to create something special. Eventually, he joined Apple, and as they say, the rest is history. Friends, I want to share with you another important use case. Stories have power to turn insignificant objects into something significant. Through movies, I understand, sell me this insignificant pen for a significant price is a popular and most challenging question asked in many sales interviews. I'm not going to tell you how you can sell an insignificant pen for a premium price, but I'm going to tell you how you can turn insignificant objects into something significant using the power of stories. Around a decade back, two people, Rob Walker and Joshua Glenn, did an experiment. They purchased around 100 insignificant objects like plastic keys, unused boxes of birthday candles, and others for around $129. Then they hired creative writers to create fictional stories around these insignificant objects. Then they listed these objects for sales on eBay. And you know what? For how much amount these objects were sold? These objects were sold for $3,615, a 2,700% increment in the value. The point I want to make is, stories have power to add a frame of reference around objects. Sometimes this frame of reference is able to create a perception of high value in the mind of audience. And that's the way insignificant objects can sometimes become significant. Friends, another important use case that I want to share with you is that stories have power to turn an ordinary man into a famous personal brand. Public speaking is a great way to extend your personal brand. And many popular public speakers use story structures in their speeches. When audience listens stories that have conflicts, struggles, setbacks, and comebacks, they get emotionally involved. Friends, One of the most popular personal brands built through the power of storytelling is Arunachala Muruganantham. He's a school dropout from rural part of southern India. He is credited for inventing the world's first low-cost sanitary pad making machine. Through his authentic story and powerful delivery style, he has created a lot of awareness and advocacy about menstrual hygiene. He has shared his inspiring story at many reputed platforms. His TED Talk has received more than 1 million views. A documentary created on his life has won an Oscar award. In fact, Bollywood superstar Akshay Kumar's movie Padman is a biopic on Arunachala Muruganantham. In 2014, Time magazine included him in its list of 100 most influential people in the world. And in 2016, the government of India awarded him with the Padam Shri. Friends, there's another interesting use case that using stories you can also boost employee morale. Almost every company wants to align their employees with their principles such as purpose, values, mission, and vision. But many employees are either not able to relate with these statements or they understand these statements differently. But stories have power to make these statements understandable properly. As a case in point, Ritz-Carlton, a luxury hotel chain, has a culture of storytelling. They encourage everyone in the organization to share stories of employees who are going above and beyond to delight a guest. Then these stories are communicated in morning meetings. The key is the employees are celebrated as heroes of these stories. These stories trigger proper conversations among other employees. These stories help other employees to understand how organizational values look in the real world. They also inspire employees to create their own wow stories. This leads to increased employee productivity and engagement. Friends, there's another important use case of stories. Stories can help you to create great products. Whenever an organization is trying to create a great product, it has to bring people from different functions and different levels together. Even a software engineer, even a vice president, and even a designer would be working on the same product. Now, everybody could have different educational background, different intellectual capability, and different understanding or interpretation of the problem. But stories have power to bring everybody on the same page. Jack Dorsey, co-founder of Twitter and Square, said in one of his Stanford talks that he creates user narratives while creating any product. In this process, he puts himself in user shoes and look at the problem, look at the experience from user's perspective. And then these user narratives become the foundation of further strategy. Friends, I would also like to share with you another interesting use case of stories. Stories have power to create word of mouth. Many entrepreneurs share their adventurous and inspiring stories through biographies. These biographies have power to influence and inspire audience. Now, these audience could have different social status, roles, and titles, but they all are storytellers in some way or the other. Imagine an office boy who would have read a biography could communicate the story with another office boy to inspire him. Imagine a software engineer who would have read a biography could share the story with his parents, with his neighbor, with his colleagues. Imagine a non-profit leader who would read a biography could use the inspiring story to inspire his volunteers. Suddenly, there are so many brand ambassadors doing free publicity for the organization and the entrepreneur who created that organization because they have read the biography and they have memorized the story that they can retell. Friends, the days of pushy, direct, and on-the-face sales messages are almost gone. Whether people like you, whether they want to work with you, or whether they want to buy your product, mainly depends on the stories you communicate. But I want to share a caveat. Only creating stories will not give you success. If you really want to succeed, you have to make these stories simple, relatable, and authentic. Thank you very much.